Hello and happy Friday, everybody. And I am here today with Jeff. And again, we are talking about the miracles in everyday life. What does it mean to live in the miracle? It's all about noticing little things that happen to us on a daily basis. So let me just introduce my guest, Jeff. And Jeff, hello. So happy to see you here with us. Tell a little bit about what you are doing, and let's just dive into the topic.
Hey, Irina, how's it going? I'm Jeff Sera. I'm a self-development sensei and a Reiki practitioner, and I support people with healing of the body, mind, and spirit. I do one-on-one sessions, and I am launching a new platform or group coaching situation that's called M3. I'll share the links later.
Awesome, beautiful. Thank you so much. So let's just talk a little bit about miracle. What does the word miracle mean for you, and how do you see it in everyday life?
Yeah, I think it's like how we choose to define things is important. I guess a miracle would be, it's an interesting word. I tend to not use that word specifically, more so kind of, I feel like that takes away the empowerment that we have to control things, right? It's like that wasn't out of our hands. That's something we created by taking action, setting an intention. So I guess my version of miracle would be kind of like manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, in everyday life, like just having the idea like, oh, I'm going to achieve this thing, or I'm going to set this intention to open up space and write something in. And then as soon as I say that in my mind or out loud, my phone goes off and it's a text message or an email coming in, and it's like, oh wow, like the thing I just said or created into the intention for is happening in this moment. And so in that way, it's like, oh, I just manifested that, or oh, this is a miracle.
I love it. I completely resonate with you on that, because for me, it's all about directing our energy, right? So when we know how to, you mentioned, when we know how to set these intentions, because a lot of people don't even understand what intention is, right? We are so prone to do this to-do list on a daily basis, but rather than that, we are talking about to-be list, right? Who do you want to be today? How do you want to show up in this world? And what exactly you would love to create today and attract for yourself? So I totally resonate with that. And for that purpose, I actually have like intention journal that I write every evening before I go to bed for the next day. How do I want that day to look like for me? And this is so beautiful. You have something too?
So it's my daily schedule. Like on half the sheet, this is the activity I'm doing. And then on the other half, what's the intention and the outcome I'm looking for? So it's like, I could say reply to 5 emails, and then I could just say, thank you, okay, yes, hi, right? But if I say reply to 5 emails and then schedule 3 calls, then the response becomes, it shifts, it changes, right? Like, oh, like I like where this conversation's going. Let's turn this into a call. Let's take this offline and make it, we can jump on video, we can have a conversation, or networking events, right? It's like, oh, attend the networking event, and you can show up in the space. You could just sit there and just listen and not participate, not engage anyone, and be there. Or you could say, I want to attend this networking event and connect with 5 people. Then you're going to be actively engaging, speaking up in the space, messaging people, and then connecting with them afterwards. So the intention plays a big part in how we show up and what we create as a result of that.
I love it. And thanks so much for sharing, because like I was also mentioning, right, that strategy. So every night I go to bed, I'm just writing out. So for tomorrow, I would say January 13, 2024, and I write everything as it already happened. and I say, I've had a beautiful day. I attracted 5 new clients, or, I've received 10 registrations for my workshop. And I know for a lot of people, it seems like, out of this world, right? But that's exactly how our energy works. And not necessarily that everything is gonna show up in the real life the way we are writing, but we are already directing our energy in that way. So something is gonna materialize, right? And the more we practice that, the more great things we are actually attracting. And I just love that you started to talk about the intention. Jack, can you tell more about the power of intention?
Yeah, it's the purpose, right? Like, why are you doing the thing? Why do you want to go to the gym? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to build muscle? And then for what purpose, right? So defining your intentions and knowing why you're doing something gives you that purpose and the reason, which then supports with motivation and the drive to follow through with it. Because it could be like, oh yeah, I want to lose 5 pounds, but I don't want to go today. And then it's like, then you don't take the action, you don't follow through. And then if you don't have the intention or the vision for what you're trying to create ultimately, it could fall off, right? How many times do we say we want to do something and then months go by and it's like, oh, I never got that done? Or, these growing to-do lists and these checklists of things, and okay, which ones are the priority? And the ones that take priority are the ones that you have a clear vision, purpose, and intention behind.
So true. So true. So tell something about, like, from your intention, something for people to relate as the miracle that actually materialized, came into the physical world.
I gotta think of like an example here that would translate for most people. Yeah, like setting my intentions with like Reiki and becoming a Reiki practitioner and the things I do in that space. It could be like, oh, one day I want to do this thing. But then you may be lacking confidence, or you may think, oh, I don't have the experience yet. And then it's this interesting thing. And I think part of this comes from, the corporate world, right? You graduate from school and you're applying for jobs, and it's like all the jobs are entry level, but they want you to have 5 years of experience. Okay, well, how the hell am I going to get the experience if you won't hire me? Right? So then you carry that mentality, and if you step into entrepreneurship, it's like, okay, wait, I don't have enough experience yet. And what we forget is that experience is built upon doing the thing. And so you have to start somewhere, and day one, you're not going to have experience, and that's okay. And so, with my journey with Reiki, I started formally training in the art of it last year, March. So it hasn't even been a full year. And within that time, I now have a space that I use, and I take clients at home. I also do house calls, and I'll go to them. And I do a lot of community events where I participate and support with the healing in a group environment with people that, I don't charge. And so that was one way I gained experience, trialing it with friends and everything else, but really was the intention of, this is what I want to do. I want to support and heal other people. And then, the first time I had a house call, it was like, can I do this? And then it was like, well, I don't know until I try. And I also kept my pricing kind of adjustable, where it was like, this is donation based. So you get to tell me what it was worth to you. And after doing several, it was like, oh, okay, there's a pattern here. And I got to set my pricing based on that, where, it was significantly more than what I thought I could charge. And, the manifestation of it was setting the intention of, I'm going to create this and add this to my business. And the energetic exchange speaks for itself. What I put into it is what I'll get out of it. And it surpassed that, right? The dollar amount I've set for my pricing is more than I thought I could make doing Reiki. And it was through the intention of, this is going to be a reflection of my abilities, and not setting, and this is almost a reverse intention, right? Like, it wasn't a clearly defined, I want to make X on this. It was more of, I'm going to trust that individuals that I'm working on and that are receiving that energy will correlate that to something that's fair for both of us. And that's exactly what happened. And so sometimes it's almost about surrendering. The intention for me in a lot of spaces is to let go of control and what the outcome should look like. Where it's like, I want perfection, right? I'm not ready and I'm not experienced enough because I don't know exactly what I'm going to need. So the first time I did a house call, it was like, I didn't have a table. I brought a speaker and some incense, and everything else was just me. And then it was like, okay, well, now I need a table. Now I need an eye cover, right? So I brought a blanket, a towel, and a table. And then it was like, okay, now I need covers and blankets. And each time you do it, you realize, oh, this would be a good idea, or this is something that'll improve the experience for both myself and the person that's receiving the treatment. And it applies to anything that you do, right? Every time you do a session or a round or a practice of whatever you're beginning to learn, you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. And then the next time you improve it. And it goes back to, 1% better every day. In 100 days, you'll be 100% better than you were when you started.
I love this. It's so great. For me, it's like I also had that intention, and it's like, and you're right, like intention we can combine with manifestation, because it's all about directing our energy, our thoughts, right, our emotions to a particular outcome. And I remember at one time before I started this business, it was during pandemic, where I was sitting and saying to myself, I really want to start my business, because I lost my job during pandemic. And I was like, I want to start my own business. And I don't even know what it can be. The only thing I know, I want to carry the laptop with me. That would be all my business. And I want to be going on vacation and just be there with the laptop and deliver whatever service has to be delivered. That's all I knew on the, on the initial stage. And everything started to unfold later on, right? Because my daughter, she was at home. She didn't want to study anymore from homeschooling. She was like, hire me the therapist. I was like, I don't know who is the therapist. I never used these people. We called our dance teacher. She advised to hire the life coach. That was the first time I've heard what that life coach is all about. And once I started to research, I figured out that this is for me. And that's how everything started to unfold. So that's the power of the intentions, right? Like where we put our attention, the universe meets as our intention. And that's exactly how we actually progress in this life.
Mm. Yeah. Being able to work anywhere is amazing, right? And needing very little to be able to literally be anywhere in the world, right? Like even your background is like, this is super cool, and that's where you could actually be, or it could be a digital background, but
absolutely. It doesn't matter. Manifesting, right? The real stage. For sure. We can have it all. Right, Jeff? Yeah. Just to for people to understand that it's not what we were projecting, that we base what we can based on our education, based on our age, based on our experience. We can actually have anything we want.
Yeah, we have to remove the self-limiting beliefs and the self-sabotage. And then when you do that, it's like, oh, yeah, anything is possible.
And obviously, it's helpful to have somebody who is going to guide you through that, correct? Because on our own, when we are venturing for something that we are not familiar with, it's easy to fall down, which, the failure is a part of the process. But it's easier when you have the guide, when you have somebody who can take your hand and gonna say that everything is gonna work out, because a lot of people have done it, right? And if it happens for one, it can happen for everyone.
Yeah. Whatever it is that you want, somebody somewhere has created that. So it's possible, right? It's just a matter of setting the intention, following through, and then doing the work. And I think doing the work is one of the most difficult parts, because like you said, along that journey, there could be a lot of trial and error and failure, and that's okay, right? It's not going to be this perfect picture. And especially like social media, like it looks like, oh, the person just did this overnight. You don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it behind the scenes. And so it's having somebody to guide you, to be like, it's okay. made a mistake, or that thing flopped, or nobody showed up. Like that's okay. Learn from it, because next time it'll be better.
And like you mentioned before, it's like from what I pick up from your words and I'm putting into my words, it's always good to have ourselves not detached to any outcome, rather just focus on the process itself. Because during that process, we are just growing, we are evolving, and we are enjoying what we are doing. And we know that the outcome is going to happen for our highest good. So it's great not to be detached to something. And I think that's the worst that people usually hope for, because they're like, okay, where are the results? I don't see the results yet. Nothing is working, right? And they actually just mixing up their energy rather than producing something great. They are going back into that negative vibes, into that lower frequency where everything has to be done, worked on to pick them up and actually direct them where they have to go.
There's a story that keeps I guess it keeps coming up because I keep sharing it, but this story has been around for this week. That's been a theme for me, and it's the story of the Chinese farmer. And the farmer has a horse, and the horse runs away, and the neighbors all come over and like, oh, your horse ran away. I'm sorry, that's terrible. And he says, maybe. And then the week goes by, and then the horse comes back, and it brings 5 other horses with it. And then neighbors come by, and it's like, oh, the horse just came back, and it brought more. That's amazing. That's great. And the farmer says, maybe. And then his son is trying to tame one of the horses and, learn how to ride it. And then he falls and he breaks his arm. And the neighbors come by and they say, oh, your son broke his arm. That's terrible. He says, maybe. And then the government comes by and they're looking for people to enlist into the military for a war. And his son is ineligible because he has a broken arm. So the neighbors come by and they say, hey, he didn't have to go. That's great. The farmer says, maybe. And so the message here is you don't know what events are happening and what they're leading you towards, what they're guiding you to. And so even when it seems like things aren't working in your favor, they absolutely are. We just don't see it, or we can't correlate it in that moment. But if you just trust and believe in the manifestation of things, it's like, yeah, like you're being guided to the very thing that you asked for. Trust the process. If you give up halfway, then you may end up in one of the situations where it's like, yeah, it's maybe one of the not so ideal outcomes, but stop there, because on the other side of it is what you're looking for. One of my manifestations for last year was a new car. And what ended up happening instead was, I have to get a new engine. And so I have one of my cars sitting here with literally on the driveway with no engine in it. And, for a little bit of time, I was like, oh man, this is terrible. And at the same time, it's like, well, maybe. Leading
I love it. I love that story. And it's so true, Jeff. It's all in our perception, right? And I'm like the same way, because everything happens for the reason. And when we connect with that and saying that everything is happening for my highest good, whether it's good or bad situation, right? We know that we cannot see at the moment what exactly the outcome is going to be down the line. But when the outcome exceeds every expectation, we are coming back to that situation and saying, oh, now I can put that piece of the puzzle together into this beautiful picture. And now I understand why that situation was presented to me.
Events themselves are neutral, and it's really the meaning that we attach to it. And typically that comes from our ego. We have to have a reason or a purpose outside of just that's simply what it is. But when we can detach from that things are good or bad, or right or wrong, this black and white mentality, that's where we really find more fulfillment and more peace. Because then it's not, I'm right and Arena's wrong, or Arena's right, that means I'm wrong. It's just, oh, okay, like perspective, right? What you see on one side of a cup could be different, right? Like you see the text from your side, I see nothing on mine. It doesn't mean one of us is right and wrong. We just have a different perspective. That ability to think in that way supports us with not getting frustrated and not having these negative vibrational emotions.
That's so true. And just, to that point, like you said, in any negative situation, there is something, the seed of good, right? As they say. So that was actually happening in my life, because when I lost the job and everybody during pandemic was panicking, right? And the world was going crazy, I just decided that I want to open my own business. And obviously that ego side of me was saying, are you crazy? People are closing the businesses. Nobody's opening the businesses now. And what are you going to be doing now, right? But just that side of us that, knows the truth, right? Our heart, our soul, right? We know that once we connect to that, we are actually receiving the right answers.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
So, what would you give, like what would you offer to the people to start, like, really see the miracles in their life? What would be the good start for them? Because a lot of times people just facing the life as is, right? They're just going with the punches, and they just live the life by default. What would be a good start for them?
Yeah, I would recommend starting with gratitude. And a good friend of mine, David George Brooke, he's a motivational speaker, and he has a book out. It's called The Gratitude Journal. You can buy that on Amazon. But the Gratitude Journal is a daily practice to express gratitude. And then there's also a section for, very similar to your practice, the next day. It's like, what are you grateful for tomorrow? And it's, speaking in the future tense of like, yeah, I'm grateful for tomorrow when I do X, Y, and Z and create these results. And so setting that intention for the next day and almost manifesting and bringing forth, the next day. But that practice of having gratitude really shifts your focus. Something I always say is where the mind goes, energy flows. And so if you're focusing on what you're grateful for, what's going well, what you have currently, then you're starting to operate from the abundance mindset, not the scarcity one, where it's like you're focusing on what's wrong and what you're lacking and all the other negative stuff. It's really, what are you grateful for today? Even if you are manifesting something new that you don't have yet, you have to also appreciate what you currently have in the situation you're currently in. Even if it's a negative, it's like, okay, I'm in a learning phase. I'm in an experience right now that's going to support me to be able to bring in that very thing. A good example of this is people that win the lottery. So you could win the lottery and you have a moment of abundance, but if your mindset doesn't change, you could actually end up worse off than when you started, where you're now in debt because you made purchases that actually have a lot of overhead. And so what you want to manifest is not, a windfall of money, but like the ability to become the person that's capable of generating it, right? To create assets for yourself so that it's running itself, right? It's a passive income, so that your mindset is able to carry and receive the very thing that you've invited in.
Awesome. I just love it so much. And that's so true, because when we focus on something great, like even when we have frustration days and when we are stressed out, if we turn for 5 minutes of gratitude, we are automatically shifting our energy. And because our mind can focus on two things, right? So we bring our focus to something great, and we find ourselves in a better energy, that we feel good, we think better, and we act better. Yeah, gratitude is very powerful, and it's awesome just, for the people to actually start to practice that, because it's very easy. All it is just to be grateful for, and it doesn't have to be something grand, right? Just be grateful for breathing today. Be grateful that you have a beautiful home, that you have the food on your plate, that you have a comfortable bed, right? Start from all these necessities that some people actually don't have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly what's going to connect you to that energy of appreciation. And the more we express that, the more great vibes we send into the universe, the greater things are actually sending back to us.
Yeah. There's I'm a huge advocate for cold showers. And some people are like, I can't do that, or like, how do you do that? And it's a practice, but one of the ways that supports me is as I step into it and I'm standing there and I turn the water on and it hits me and it's cold, I have gratitude to be able to feel and sense the sensations. Like, yeah, there's a little prickle in that pain of, you know, the cold water, but at the same time, what I'm grateful for is the ability to feel and the fact that I'm alive. Because one day I will be dead and I won't be able to feel those sensations. And so in that moment, I'm grateful for that.
That's so beautiful. And what comes for me with that practice as well, it's kind of stepping out of our comfort zone, right?
Yep, that's the intention. Supporting the mind with being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Right. Because there is no growth in the zone of comfort. So we want to stretch ourselves as much as we can. So everyone who's listening today might think of something what they are not comfortable to do, maybe to, you know, to express their opinion, or to talk to the manager, or to speak up to their partner about something. Step out of that comfort zone, challenge yourself, and do that, right? Because that's exactly how you're growing, and that's exactly how you discover who you are, and be comfortable to be uncomfortable, like Jeff said. And that's exactly where the truth of you is going to show up, and you are able to express yourself to the fullest.
Thank you so much for having me today, Irina.
That's absolutely was a pleasure. It was a great episode. Thanks so much, Jeff, for sharing your wisdom, and for people to contact you, I'll put the links. So if anybody wants to contact Jeff, please just click, and you'll be able to reach out to him. And for everybody, continue looking for the miracles in your daily life. And we would love to know, put in the comments, say something, what is your miracle? Because it's all about sharing and celebrating each other, celebrating our miracles, and more miracles on the way to us. Have a blessed day, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks, Toby.